I believe this is going to backlash against Kamala Harris, who made a big mistake today. She, in the beginning, floated above it, which is a smart play, but then came out in front of the microphones and called Trump a Hitler lover, okay? Which he's not.
Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. One of the more influential figures in conservative media remains Bill O'Reilly. I know, it's sad. And unfortunately, O'Reilly still matters, as I'm going to explain. But first, Bill appeared on News Nation with Chris Cuomo. Cuomo asked for his take on John Kelly's recent comments labeling Donald Trump a fascist. Here is O'Reilly's response.
I listened to that stupid tape. Why didn't the reporters say to General Kelly, what was the context of the conversation? Do you know what the context of the conversation was, Cuomo?
In reading the piece, there is context provided. He said, hey, what do you mean? You talking about
tell me, 'cause
Bismarck?
I don't know.
Are you talking about the Kaiser? Are you talking about Rommel? No, those are all the things that Kelly said, trying to lead Trump down the path of clarification.
No. What is the context where this was even raised? Do you know?
Yeah, from the piece, it was Trump saying, I wish I had military leaders who did more of what I said and could execute like these guys.
Okay. But I need more context. What was the beef that Trump was talking about, that the generals let him down? We have none of that. And I'll submit to you that Trump makes offhand comments all the time. All right, but they don't mean anything, and he doesn't even remember them 30 seconds later.
Great. So even O'Reilly says Trump has amnesia. But O'Reilly's dismissiveness of Trump's admiration for Hitler is not just downplaying that situation. It's part of a larger issue. Bill O'Reilly, thanks to his Fox News days, still has a huge following, and when influential figures wave off critiques of Trump's rhetoric, they normalize dangerous behaviors and ideas. Trump's inflammatory comments, whether they're about immigrants, political opponents, or even journalists, have real-world consequences. As we've seen, it fuels a rise in political violence, attacks on democratic institutions, and the polarization of the country. When someone like O'Reilly, who has a massive platform, downplays rhetoric, it sends the message that this kind of talk or these sorts of views are just part of the political game. But they're not. Words have power, especially when they come from someone with as much influence as Donald Trump. O'Reilly's casual dismissal of Kelly's concerns, along with the dismissal by other high-profile conservative media figures and lawmakers, enables and legitimizes a pattern of behavior that undermines the very foundation of our democracy.
But it is so bizarre, his resilience to saying things and, frankly, doing things that would have ruined anyone else. And I believe it doesn't speak really to the mettle of the man as much as the movement behind him. Well, but they do. I mean, you say stupid things. Look, it's usually out. He has a running mate
but we don't
who
know
likened him to Hitler.
We don't. Look, Pence was very careful about what he said about Trump. We live in an age where...
Yeah, it was J.D. Vance who just a few years ago called Donald Trump America's Hitler. And O'Reilly may have been showing his age with that flub. Or maybe O'Reilly just didn't care to read or hear any of the negative things J.D. Vance said about Donald Trump a few years ago before Trump picked Vance as his running mate. All of that came out this summer after Trump elevated Vance, but none of it seems to register with a lot of conservatives who do not like exploring inconveniences or faults in their thinking or views. But Vance's comments from a few years ago are worth remembering. In 2016, J.D. Vance publicly called Donald Trump an idiot and reprehensible. He wrote, I go back and forth between thinking Trump is a cynical like Nixon, who wouldn't be that bad and might even be useful, or that he's America's Hitler, Vance wrote privately to an associate on Facebook in 2016. When his Hitler comment was first reported in 2022, a spokesperson did not dispute it, but said it no longer represents Vance's views. By the time Vance ran for Senate in 2022, his demonstrations of loyalty to Trump, which included downplaying the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters, were sufficient to score the former president's coveted endorsement. Donald Trump's support helped put Vance over the top in a competitive Ohio primary. In media interviews, Vance had said there was no eureka moment that changed his views on Trump. Rather, Vance gradually realized that his opposition to the former president was rooted in style rather than substance, he said. Before Vance developed a relationship with the former president, Vance grew close with Trump's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., according to several people familiar with their relationship. Vance first caught Trump Jr.'s eye when he opposed aid to Ukraine during the Ohio Senate primary in 2022. According to one of those people, a position that put him at odds with the other Republicans in the race. According to several reports, Vance's personal relationship with President Trump developed for the most part during the Republican presidential primary earlier this year. Vance endorsed Donald Trump in January 2023, well before some other vice presidential hopefuls, and it reportedly served as a crucial demonstration of Trump loyalty. And as we've seen in the GOP and conservative media for 9 years now, demonstrating loyalty to Trump is all that really matters. It's a one-trick pony. Show it, and you will rise through the ranks of MAGA world, perhaps win congressional primary races, get positions in a Trump White House and campaign, and land lucrative analyst gigs on conservative media or raise your conservative profile. And that is where Bill O'Reilly finds himself. After being dropped by Fox News and flailing in the podcast space for several years, O'Reilly has had a reemergence as a powerful conservative voice thanks to his paper-thin talking points in defense of Donald Trump. The same goes for Tucker Carlson, who was bounced out of Fox and left for dead doing oddball X broadcasts. Brian Kilmeade, who remains at Fox and was the forgettable third wheel for many years on Fox and Friends, is now must-watch TV for conservatives. The other day, Brian Kilmeade defended Trump's comments about Hitler's generals by suggesting the generals were Nazis or whatever. Whatever. And that is what passes for intellectual thought these days in MAGA world. It is simplistic, boneheaded, outrageous, and just like Donald Trump himself. Between Trump and his conservative lapdogs on Fox and elsewhere, outrageous comments and views that would have disqualified a political candidate a few years ago have now been normalized and sane-washed. The impact of this disheartening trend may last far longer than the era of Trump, regardless of what happens in November. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.